China's incredible rise to riches is nothing short of remarkable. Just a few decades ago, China ranked among the poorest countries globally, and in Asia, it was one of the most economically challenged countries. But now, that's not the case. The policies that once held its economy back, centrally controlled and disconnected from the global market, have changed dramatically. China broke all odds to achieve economic success and struggled to become insanely rich. Surprisingly, a country known for its low income has risen to become the first largest economy in terms of purchasing power parity and gross domestic product. As of 2024, China has a GDP of $35 trillion, leaving the United States behind with $24 trillion. While some Chinese citizens are hopeful for a better future, others are concerned about income inequalities and feeling marginalized amidst China's economic growth. Why do Chinese citizens have mixed feelings about economic growth? How did China become so extremely rich? And what challenges is its economy facing? This is the shocking truth about how China became so insanely rich. But before we explain how China became so rich, please hit the subscribe button to learn more about how countries advance economically. To truly understand China's economic success, we must know where it began. Before 1979, under the leadership of Mao Zedong, China was all about central planning. Everything was under government control, whether it was production plans, resource management, or setting production goals. Industries were mainly state-owned in this system, and decisions were made based on bureaucratic directives. So, market mechanisms were needed, which led to inefficiencies in resource allocation and limited the room for foreign investments and trade. Although per capita GDP increased to 6.7% from 1953 to 1978, there were doubts about the data's accuracy. In fact, under Mao's leadership, China faced economic downturns, including the Great Leap Forward and the Cultural Revolution. Then, in 1978, after Mao passed away, Deng Xiaoping's economic reforms were a whole new chapter for China, opening up the country to the world. Chinese economic reforms started by incentivizing farmers to sell their crops in the open market. Additionally, they set up special economic zones along the coast to attract foreign investment. This enabled them to bring in new technology and expand exports. Gradually, they got rid of price controls. As a result of Deng's bold reforms, China had achieved an average annual GDP growth rate of over 9%. Over that same period, more than 800 million people were lifted from poverty and enjoyed better access to healthcare, education, and employment opportunities. The World Bank described this impressive economic growth as the fastest sustained expansion by a major economy in history. However, China's economic journey has not been without bumps. In 2008, the global financial crisis hit China, dropping its GDP by 6.8%. In response, the Chinese government implemented a $586 billion economic stimulus package mainly aimed at funding infrastructure and easing up on bank lending. Consequently, China's real GDP grew by 9.5% from 2008 to 2018. China's economic success was based on its refusal to make big, sudden changes. Unlike other countries, China tested its ideas locally first to ensure their effectiveness. Deng referred to this process as crossing the river by touching the stones. Today, the Chinese economic miracle is considered more remarkable than the earlier East Asian miracle seen in countries like Singapore, Hong Kong, Taiwan, and South Korea. Chinese citizens feel a sense of pride in their economic achievements. According to economists, many factors contributed to China's economic growth. However, massive capital investment and rapid productivity growth are two main factors to financial success. Economic reforms boosted outcomes and increased resources for additional investment in the economy. China started reallocating more resources to productive sectors like manufacturing, agriculture, and services, which led to productivity gains. Also, it sets a path to welcome foreign investments. And that's not all. While many countries like Brazil, Russia, India, and Argentina rejected foreign investments, China accepted it, establishing special economic zones, or SEZs, and became a global manufacturing hub. With foreign direct investment, it brought in new technology and processes that further improved efficiency. With a focus on developing heavy industries, China has become the world's largest manufacturer, producing nearly half of the world's steel. China's dominance in Earth's rare metals also makes it a significant exporter of metals. This gives China great control of the raw materials market, and it also affects global resource availability and pricing. It allows China to reshape and change international trade patterns. This not only boosts China's economy, but also impacts the global economy profoundly. Additionally, the mining sector extracts various resources like coal, gas, gold, iron, and other precious metals. And to ensure reliance on renewable resources, China is reducing its dependence on coal. Besides, untapped natural gas reserves are yet to be explored. As a result, in China, the manufacturing industry makes up almost 29% of its economy, significantly more than the 12% in the United States. This manufacturing powerhouse also supplies consumer goods, cement, machinery, transportation devices, and electronics. Moreover, China's software industry has experienced an incredible growth rate of 10.8% from May 2021 to May 2022, generating a revenue of around $415 billion. China remains competitive internationally with its significant manufacturing capabilities and growing software industry. Similarly, Chinese consumerism is also a primary driver of its economic growth. After economic liberalization, China has the world's largest shopping centers. Industry giants like Alibaba have fueled retail and e-commerce growth, contributing $6.1 trillion to China's GDP in 2022. Besides boosting GDP, this increase in consumer activity has also created employment opportunities and shaped consumption trends locally and globally. Another economic reform is in its trade sector, which in 2013 won the country the title of the largest trading partner of 130 nations. In 1979, exports were $14 billion, but they grew to $2.5 trillion by 2018. Despite facing the global financial crisis, China expanded its trade, overtaking Germany and eventually the United States in trade volume. Today, China is impacting global trade. With trade policies such as reducing tariffs and participating in international agreements, China aims to enhance its economy and integrate into the world market. While China dominates global trade, many countries adjust their trade strategies to remain competitive. This has led to a change in international trade patterns and alliances. Overall, China's trading power has shaped the global economy. Still, the country is facing challenges that could threaten its hard-earned progress in the economy. While on its way to development, China experienced economic stagnation. Its GDP growth slowed down. This is called the middle-income trap. Many developing countries like Poland also experienced the same challenge. Will China be able to leap out of this problem? China will surely overcome this challenge by focusing on high-tech industries, green energy, and services if it prioritizes a more sustainable economic model. Today, the Chinese government aims to achieve smarter economic growth rather than pursuing rapid growth. Yet, the debt burden makes it hard to get out of the middle-income trap. As many of us already know, the Chinese government mainly controls its banking system with officials from the Communist Party in charge. This gives an edge to government-owned companies when it comes to getting loans, leaving private businesses at a disadvantage. Also, the government lends more money to strengthen its economy, which sounds good at first, but it also leads to more debt for business. This increase in debt has threatened the future of the economy. Since the government can't balance the money flow, it invests more in some areas and less in others. Many Chinese citizens worry about financial security and fear losing their fundamental rights. Additionally, the recent Evergrande crisis adds further complexity to the Chinese economy by negatively impacting it. Evergrande, once China's second-largest property developer, defaulted on its $300 billion debt in 2021 after the government imposed new rules to limit debt in the real estate sector. This has led to a broader property market downturn in China, with falling home prices and construction activity. Since real estate contributes approximately 30% of China's GDP, the Evergrande crisis is dragging down the whole country's economy. Moreover, companies working with Evergrande are losing money too and are at the risk of bankruptcy. Amidst this collapse, other Chinese companies are facing troubles in borrowing money, which could also down the economy. However, the significant challenge for policymakers is managing this debt and crisis while sustaining economic growth. Efforts are being made to reduce the debt burden without affecting economic growth. This economic boom in China has brought many environmental challenges. Heavy industries contribute to economic growth, while, on the other hand, they pose health concerns to the people. The severity of China's environmental pollution is a challenge to its economy. For instance, consider the air pollution alone. It costs billions and affects the economy, health, and productivity. Considering the hazardous air quality in cities like Beijing and Shanghai, the government is shutting down the factories. Now, what is the government actually doing to address these issues? It's taking measures to reduce energy consumption and enforce environmental laws, but their effectiveness is really under question. With more people affected by environmental pollution, it's straining its resources, since the government has to invest in the healthcare sector to manage health problems. Environmental issues are a reason to strain resources, and the rapidly aging population in China is prompting China to invest in healthcare and elderly services. Introduced in 1979, the one-child policy in China has become a challenge for its growing economy. But how does it actually pose a challenge to the economy? With a decline in the country's fertility rate, its workforce is shrinking, leading to decreased productivity. Now, China does not have a large labor force to fuel its economic growth like in the past. Let's not forget China's Belt and Road Initiative, launched in 2013. One of the most critical infrastructure and economic development projects, it aims to boost economic integration and connectivity across Asia, Africa, Europe, and beyond, becoming a platform for global cooperation. Additionally, this initiative promotes trade and investment between China and participating countries. The BRI financing estimates range from $1 trillion to $8 trillion, and this investment covers a diverse range of sectors, including energy, manufacturing, telecommunications, and tourism. Undoubtedly, it brings many economic benefits, such as regional development, increased investment by creating opportunities for businesses to expand into new markets, and cultural exchange. However, it faces criticism too. Some U.S. analysts think that China aims to assert regional dominance with this initiative. Even transparency and governance of BRI projects have been criticized for project quality, social impact, and corruption. Additionally, it poses financial risks and potential debt burdens on participating countries. However, China's strategic policies are designed to continue its progress to achieve economic goals. China's journey from a low-income country to an extremely rich country is a testament to its commitment to achieving economic growth. Despite several challenges restricting its progress, China's bold reforms and strategic shifts have set a path to stay at the forefront of the global economy.